Hi, I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center, and I want to welcome everybody to our conversation this evening. In fact, it's a share, and I have been so looking forward to having this workshop come up in our schedule, and tonight I get to be joined by two guests, two special people that I know that you're going to really enjoy hearing from, and in turn you've probably you've been like so many other people asking yourselves, is this the right place for me? Is chiropractic the answer to my problems? In fact, oftentimes thinking that maybe I'm too far gone to be helped. Can I really get back to doing the things that I love doing, that I want to do? And listen, as we have new patients here in the office, we hear time and time again what seems like mild and really insignificant things that they look forward to getting back to doing, and then those things that are major life events that people just simply want to be able to get out and do. Well, let me tell you, tonight you're going to hear the story of hope. You're going to hear the story of what chiropractic is capable of doing when you give it the opportunity. And you know what? In a moment, I'm going to introduce my guests. They're probably going to be familiar faces for some of you. For others, they're going to be individuals that you've never heard their story from before. I'm going to encourage you to listen to their story, to pay attention, to ask yourself, doesn't that sound like me? In fact, probably you should be asking yourself also, who does this sound like? Because what I know is that out there in our community is somebody just like our two guests. Somebody that is out there that, at first doesn't know what you know about chiropractic. Doesn't know what happens inside the four walls of the chiropractic office. I mean, just the other day, one of our patients was sharing how, so many people are just simply afraid of actually walking through the door. And this was coming from a patient. And in the end, I know as we reflect on the people that we know, people that we love and we care about, there's somebody out there that needs to hear this story. So as always, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to, first off, make sure that you're liking this video. It's part of your care plan. It's part of all of our patients' treatment here in the office that we educate. That's how we recognize that you've been here, you've gotten the information. Secondly, I'd like to know what your takeaway was. What that one thing was that was the aha moment for you in this conversation. Now, the third thing is to make sure that you're sharing this information. Not just to share the information, not just to put that share button, but also to tag somebody. Tag somebody that you know. Tag somebody that you're aware needs to hear the story of hope. So with that being said, I want to welcome our two guests with us this evening. This is a rarity. Normally I get to do workshops by myself, but I love the fact that I get to have others join me in this conversation tonight. So I'd like to introduce Jackie Miller and Shannon Stevenson. Like I said, they're probably familiar faces for some of you, for others a little bit newer. But I want you guys to introduce yourselves, and if you don't mind, share your chiropractic story.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Shannon Stevenson. I've been a chiropractic patient here at the Limerick Chiropractic Center for almost 26 years. It was back in 1996 that I had foot surgery, and with that being done, I couldn't walk properly, and I refused to use crutches. So I was hobbling along for weeks on end, and one day I bent over to wash my face in the sink, and I was stuck at a 90-degree angle, and I couldn't stand up. And my husband immediately, his first thought was, you have to go see Dr. Baker. So I went and saw Dr. Baker at his office over in Skipback at the time, had a complete evaluation along with x-rays. He told me exactly what the problem was and how to fix it, and I proceeded with care. And after just a few adjustments, I started feeling better, and my body started healing, and I was able to stand up straighter and move more freely and without pain. So, and I've been under care ever since. My family is under care. My son started getting checked and adjusted when he was just under a year old. He had had chronic ear infections as an infant, and we were told that if he had one more ear infection, he would have to have tubes. And he got another ear infection. I brought him to Dr. Baker. He got adjusted frequently, and his body was able to function better. And lo and behold, no more ear infection. And we didn't have to proceed with getting tubes in his ears. And from then on, he never had another infection again. And he hardly ever gets sick anymore. My husband is under regular chiropractic care. He hurts himself all the time. He hurts himself in his sleep. I'm sure somebody out there can certainly relate to that. But we are all under care, and we are all reaping the benefits of what chiropractic has done for us, physically and mentally.
So, well, thank you. And you know what? In a moment, I'm going to come back. I want to ask these guys some additional questions. But Jackie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and why don't you share a little bit about how you first started to be a patient here at the Limmer Chiropractic Center?
Sure. So my name's Jackie Miller, and I started as a patient in 2009, and I only became a patient because my dad was a patient first. And so I came in not thinking I had any problems, and then come to find out after my evaluation and my x-rays, I found out I have scoliosis, which I was never made aware of prior. And also things like migraines, headaches. I had those very often, and found out that was also something that was connected that could be helped by chiropractic. So I've been under care ever since, and my headaches have lessened a lot. Also I always got sick. I worked with children for many years and came down with everything under the sun. Colds, bronchitis, pretty much on schedule twice a year. Every other thing imaginable. Never thought chiropractic would be something that would help. And since beginning care, that has lessened. I get sick much less frequently. And when I do get sick, it's not for as long of a duration. Things would linger for a long time. Not anymore, thankfully. So my immune system has been boosted a lot over the years. As far as my family, they're also getting checked, my 3 children, my husband, and I wish I would have known about chiropractic a lot sooner. My kids were a little older when they started under care, but ever since they've reaped the benefits as well. And my husband has started as well, so he's finally come on board. So we've all seen much improvement with our immune systems and recovering from injury and things like that.
So, you know, and for both of you guys, I mean, obviously you have that individual who stood out and just simply said, you need to go get checked. For Shannon, it was Glenn. It was your husband. He had been a patient of my father's. He had been a patient of chiropractic for numerous years because his parents had gone to a chiropractor. And Jackie, your father had come to the office and had met me and obviously that's how you were referred to the office. And because of that, you were that example to the rest of the family, particularly your children of, you know, this is how we are going to start caring for this body of ours, start to actually treat things differently so that we're not reacting, but we're preventing them from happening. You know, over the course of, 11 years, and has it been 11 years that we've been together?
2009.
2009, okay. And over 25 years, I'm not good with dates, by the way. Really, I'm not good with dates. Over those years, let me ask you, what has been the biggest thing that you guys have learned as far as the next generation is concerned? Talking about your kids, talking about, what chiropractic does for children. I mean, obviously we get to see numerous kids here in the office, from, just a few weeks old, or a few hours old, I should say. What's been that big takeaway for you guys in what you realize for the kids?
The sooner the better. The sooner that they can get checked, the less likely they are to grow up into adults that have issues. Because the longer a problem is there, it's just going to get worse. So if we can get them checked young, and help to resolve issues when they're young, then they don't need to grow up into cranky adults.
Mm-hmm. So, and how about you, Jackie?
Well, I know with my kids in particular, they have dealt with some of the same things I dealt with growing up as a kid, illnesses, that kind of thing. And the first thing they want to do when they're not feeling well, when they have a headache, or something is not right in their body, is they want to get checked. They ask when their next adjustment is.
Well, and that is part of what we always hope, is that as we get to, as parents, teach and train our children, they get to learn. They get to learn how to care for themselves better, differently, because obviously the model that has been taught to most of America is one in which they wait for crisis. They wait for the crisis to happen, they wait for breakdown to occur, and then, maybe then, actually deal with, well, the symptoms. I mean, it's a far stretch for them to actually deal with the root cause of the problem. And yet, your children's, they're learning how, don't wait. Make sure that you're preventing injury, preventing illness from occur, and if it does, obviously, what's that next step? Go get checked first. And I do love the fact that we as a community, we get to be that example for our patients here at the office, and we get to talk about these benefits, but we also get to see them taking advantage of that information. And I'm thinking of a little boy that we just got to see. He started just a couple weeks ago, and he was first brought in, and unfortunately, Grandma noticed that he wasn't able to turn his head. He wasn't able to turn his head the way he was supposed to. And obviously she was very in tune. She has brought in numerous generations of the family, and she had brought her grandson into our office to get checked because of his head not moving properly. And the remarkable thing is that left unchecked for years, and the way oftentimes happens for decades of time, what ends up happening is the body continues not to communicate properly. It unfortunately continues to have mechanical stress, which means now body parts are wearing down more quickly than they're supposed to. And sadly, that individual isn't allowed to lead a vibrant life, which is the really big tragedy in all this. The loss of that potential. Now the great news is, pardon me, this individual, he was able to get checked. Later that night, Grandma texted in and had noted the fact that for the first time, she was able to notice that normal range of motion returning again back into that seemingly, innocent little body. I say seemingly innocent because already at that early stage, he had already been through a ton of trauma in his life. So we recognize the bigness of what that affords our children of, not having to suffer needlessly. And yet, sadly, most people don't even recognize that children should be checked. Personally, and I've shared this before, I didn't have the ability to suffer from that disease that they call procrastination. My father, because I'm a second generation chiropractor, my dad picked me up at birth, turned me over, got me checked. I had my first couple hundred, if not 1,000 adjustments before I even recognized what was going on. And I think of how blessed I am because, well, I'm like anybody else, right? I learned how to walk, fell down numerous times, played with everybody and everything, had traumas and injuries, jumped off of stuff, climbed and fell down off of things that I should never have been on, rode my bike over things, fell off my bike, you know. And the list just keeps going on and on. So I recognize, you know, for our children, how really blessed they are to have help lead and guide them to that better place. So let me ask you guys, what's for our patients, what's the most profound thing that you would recommend for them to be able to take away from your experience?
That it's easy. I mean, it's not hard or scary to come in to get checked. I mean, unfortunately, I came in a crisis situation, but had I known better, more than likely I wouldn't have ended up in a crisis situation. Because once you know, you can't unknow. But it's so easy to come in to get checked. It's just getting your posture checked. It's palpation. There's no scary instruments involved, no needles, no nothing like that. It's very easy to have a chiropractic evaluation. Insurance does cover it most times, and we're happy to help whenever you're ready.
So how about you?
I would say to come just get checked. I had no desire at the time when I did come to get checked, and then when I come to get checked, I found out all kinds of things that I didn't know that I wanted to know. Just getting checked, and even if you don't think you have a problem or think it's chiropractic related or chiropractic can help it, you just never know until you get that information, and then you can go from there.
Well, I would wholeheartedly concur with both of you. In fact, you know, to me, the greatest gift that we offer our community is simply that, the opportunity of getting checked. You know, to me, knowledge is power. The more knowledge we have about how our body is functioning, the more power we have over the function over time. And I recognize, listen, you know what? There's a lot of things that are scary. There's a lot of things that we should be fearful of, but fear of the unknown is not okay. That's an unreasonable fear. So for me, you know, having that knowledge, or at least relating that knowledge to our community, means that people don't have to live in fear. They get to have that peace of mind of understanding how their body is functioning, how things are working. And if, in fact, there's something that needs to be addressed, well, absolutely, you're able to fix and correct it, or you can at least plan for how it is that you're going to make sure that you address it as you move forward over time. So, well, thank you. I appreciate that from both of you. You know, and here's the thing. You know, we are all patients in this office. Whether I am talking to the newborn and making, you know, googly noises at them, whether I get to have conversations with our youngsters and our teenagers, helping them to understand more about how their body works, or as adults, recognizing that we have to take ownership of our problems because we've allowed them to get to the point that they're at. I love having these conversations and connecting in those moments. In fact, you know, for those of you on right now, I mean, hey, listen, I want to hear from you in regards to what your takeaways are. You know, what are some of those aha moments for you that maybe we need to talk about more in the office? Because I love the fact that, you know, over time, these workshops have taken on different titles, have brought us different information because you've asked for it. And, you know, to me, that's one of the wonderful things that we have the opportunity of doing, is meeting your needs when you've asked us to do so. You know, to me, that's one of those greatest things. When you guys ask, my team gets to deliver what they know that is going to be helpful for you. And I have to say, you know, we have an absolutely awesome team here at the Limerick Chiropractic Center. As both of these guys shared with you, they have been chiropractic patients for such a long time. And in fact, they also have chosen this as a career for them, not just something that they do, but something that they choose to do to help others experience that better level of health. Now, that chime was for me to stop talking and, well, to share with you guys a little bit more. I want to read to you something, and I purposely printed it out, and I'm going to leave the name off of this document at first, but to me, this is one of those impactful moments because oftentimes people ask, I can't believe it's gotten this bad. Am I ever going to be able to do what I love to do again? And for me, I would hope that, from this conversation tonight, you take an awful lot of things. The fact that chiropractic is not just for back pain, that it is for caring for the entire body, that it's not just for adults, it's not just for old people, it's for newborns, it's to maintain the body throughout our lifetime, that in turn, we need to be the example to the next generation, and we need to be telling others. So, to me, I would hope that you take away all those things. And along with that, I want to leave you with a little bit of hope. Because as this individual's MRI states, he had come under chiropractic care, and unfortunately he had an accident. He had an accident, and during the course of the accident, he had suffered some injuries. And this is just from his low back that I'm going to share with you his injuries. The L2, L3, a mild diffuse disc bulge with focal protrusion. Now, you might not understand what all those words are, but I'm just going to tell you, it's not real good, all right? There's a small annular tear posteriorly in the midline. There's no significant central stenosis at that level. Thank goodness, there's one piece of good news. Unfortunately, it doesn't get better as we continue the conversation. At the L3, L4, the disc demonstrates a moderate diffuse disc bulge with focal protrusion. L4, L5, there is a moderate loss of disc height. There's a moderate right paracentral disc extrusion, which migrates inferiorly. That means the stuff that was supposed to be in the disc, it's not in the disc anymore. It actually oozed out the backside and sort of dripping into the spinal canal like a candle, So that's what that means. There's a moderate to severe central canal stenosis at this level. That means the opening's gotten smaller, all right? There's a moderate bilateral foraminal narrowing at this level, which means that where the nerves come out on the side, those are smaller too. There's a moderate, this is the L5S1, moderate loss of disc height and a moderate disc dissection. There is a diffuse severe disc bulge with definite focal protrusion. Again, we may as well just take it up a notch or two, all right? So, in the end, there's also at that level, there's a moderate bilateral foraminal stenosis also. You think this guy might have had a problem? No, I would hope everybody out there is shaking their head yes. If you're not shaking your head yes, let me just tell you, none of that would be a good sign. You know what? Anybody walking through my door that I got to sit and evaluate, not really good news. Now, let me fast forward. Because this same person, has a physical job. He's pretty active. Works pretty much 5 days a week at his job. On top of that, he works at home. He does pretty much everything that he could possibly get himself into. He does things, over the years. He's rock climbed. He bike rides. He also runs. He works out. He's not sitting around. Let's say that. Okay. And just for the heck of it, anything that his family wants to do, he's game for. Gets in the hours, drives all types of miles all over the place, hours on end behind the wheel, not a big deal. He lives life. And I'm gonna tell you, that is what I would hope that all of our patients would do. This person's not a youngster. This person is our ages. This is an individual that I recognize how to do the hard work. He spent 1.5 years, almost 2 years, rehabilitating those injuries and bringing himself back up to where he's supposed to be. He also has changed things. His diet, the way he eats, his sleep pattern, he's changed, everything that you could possibly imagine to help himself maintain better, along with making sure that he gets checked on a regular basis. I know he is on the adjusting table at least once a week, getting checked. And when there's the opportunity, he doesn't miss it because he recognizes that he desires his body to work at that optimal level as often as it possibly can. Here's the neat thing. That could be you. I know it could be you. Because if you're willing to work as hard as he did and do the things that he did, you too have that possibility of being able to continue to live that vibrant life. Now I'm going to tell you this is a testimonials workshop. That happens to be my MRI. I make no qualms about it. It didn't come from adjusting. It didn't come from being stupid. It came from a car accident. In a split second, the body can be changed. There's many of you out there that know that to be the case. I know that because I get to see you on a regular basis, and I recognize the injuries and the damages, and I sympathize and I empathize with you because I know the hurt that you go through. I can only tell you stories of the painful and uncomfortableness of going through the correction. But I also can tell you about the joy of having the opportunity of living life to its fullest. Not living in fear, worrying about when is this thing going to fall apart. Because I know as long as we do our job, our body will also do its job to its ability. My hope is that you have the opportunity of sharing this information. Sharing with somebody that you love, that you care about, that you know just needs to hear that story of hope. Listen, I share not to boast. I share because I recognize people really don't know. And my team loves to share their story. They love to share in these moments because they know it gives others hope to know that they're not stuck, that they can change, and that if they choose to, they're capable of making things better for themselves. My greatest joy is helping that next person start out on that journey and see that hope that's there. My ask of you tonight, share this information. Tag somebody that you know. Because what I know simply is that most people wait too long. We just had a gentleman the other day. Unfortunately, he waited too long. He was only here a brief period of time, and unfortunately, his body was failing. The sad thing is that he had to go get surgery. He had to because he was at a point where unfortunately he had done too much damage to himself. I hate the fact that that had to happen. I recognize that if somebody had told him, that may not have been the case. My hope is that as we share this information, it saves somebody from being one of those statistics. Because there's no guarantee that he gets off the surgeon's table. There's no guarantee that that surgery is a success. There's no guarantee that he's going to walk away with less pain. I ask you to do 3 things. Like the video. Make sure that you leave your comment. Decide who you want to tag in that comment. And also, share this information. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limmer Chiropractic Center.